Go ahead and call this meeting to order. And go ahead and take a look at our agenda. Okay. The first item that we have are the minutes for April 18th. Has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at those?
Yes.
Any comments, questions, corrections?
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Public comment. We have some folks in the back who'd like to speak. Come on
Hey,
up.
Joe. I think because it's public comment, we would hear it during public comment. But I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, do you want to?
How about
you
if
might-
we get to that, I think we ask the city for, it is. Okay, it sounds like everybody wants to do a public comment. Let's do it and start with Joe. The hearing.
This is a copy of the petition, 2 pages. It was like 54 pages. First 2 pages, petition, and then the recommendation county. Not going to go over that part too much, but just to give you an idea, you guys are going to talk about the Luma Vista vacation request. And Joe Backus, City of Scappoose. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. You guys are going to talk about it. My approach is I'm going to go talk to the county at the public hearing on Wednesday. There are a lot of ORS, possible ORS violations. One is we are a abutting property. As you can see, the green square up there abuts the property. We were never notified or asked or invited into this, and ORS rules require that all abutting properties do sign off. So I was surprised that we never did hear of anything until just a couple of weeks ago. There is some talks about you cannot landlock lots. It violates county road standards. And the whole reason they were able to partition that years ago was because the public right of way was authorized or given. But what I'm going to focus on in my speaking is they had 8 items that of concern, and I can kind of go through each one and show how we as a city can help. Adequate safety or adequate security. If and when the park gets developed and the access point will be used by the city of Scappoose, we'll offer police assistance and help prevent unwanted behavior and removal of illegal activity. So we will help, and we got direct from police department. Enhance safety with that added city police coverage as well as proper signage. I think you will enhance safety up there. They wanted full control over road maintenance. But as a property owner up there, we are the largest property owner with 200 feet of road park frontage. We will definitely assume some responsibility for the maintenance upkeep because we too want nice, safe roads for citizens to travel. Preservation of community character. I believe that closing off this road, you're not preserving community character, but you're dividing the community further. A well-maintained park for all community members of all ages and abilities preserves that character. Property and value enhancement. According to us, they say by making that a public-private road that their property values go up. I also say that according to many studies, including this one by Trust for Public Land, properties adjacent to naturalistic parks and greenways often see a price increase of up to 20% green premium. So by having a park there is actually enhancing their value as well. Flexibility and road maintenance. They felt they'd have more flexibility. It's a county road, but because of their agreement, the homeowners are responsible for the road. So the county doesn't even have to do anything on the road. But working with the city, who we can do a lot of our own road repair and improvements, that really helps the flexibility. And every enhancement that they name on there can still be done, such as landscaping and easing the county's burden. Well, one, the county really has no burden because it is the road is over to the citizens to take care of. So, but help with the city, we will actually help ease the county's burden, and by having police coverage and establish maintenance agreement, we can still establish a maintenance agreement going forward so that we will do our responsibility. So I just wanted you guys to hear that before you talk about it later.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Joe. I just want to make a quick comment. I think another public comment. You know, it's interesting. So I have real estate out in St. Helens, and there's a lot of changes that go on, and I've always been notified with any of those changes and have the opportunity. So that was a really good point, Joe. Kim?
Thank you, committee members. Kim Holmes, resident of Scappoose. So I too am going to talk about the upcoming hearing to the request to vacate Luma Vista Drive and Skyline Terrace. I think this is problematic for a number of reasons, and I would invite you all to join us at the hearing if possible. To voice your concern as well. So first off, let's talk about, you all recently just adopted the Parks Master Plan, and a number of us advocated for having a solid level of service of acreage to population. So if we go back to the National Parks Association, the recommended level of service is 10 acres per 1,000 people. Now, with the inclusion of Vista Park in there, we achieve about 116 acres. And so with the projected growth, that really puts us right at that target level of service. If we eliminate Vista Park, we are once again going to be deficient in the public spaces and recreation opportunities that we can afford our residents. So I think it's really critical that we maintain proper access to the park. Let's talk about access. If you've been to Vista Park and you've accessed it from Bella Vista, you have to be a very able-bodied person to get up there and enjoy the park. I don't even frankly know how our Public Works Department will get many of the necessary vehicles up there to maintain it from access at that point. If we want to make sure that people of all physical abilities are able to enjoy our parks, we have to have reasonable access for them. The only point of access is off of Luma Vista. If the commissioners close off that access point, basically I would recommend removing that park from our Parks Master Plan. It is effectively not going to be in service to our residents. I also want to address the points that the mayor came at from a positive direction in the petition, the reasons laid out in the petition. Adequate security and enhanced safety. To our knowledge, there have been no complaints to the city about safety and security concerns. Full control over road maintenance. They already do much of the road maintenance up there. Preservation of community character. They moved in knowing that they were living next to a park, a parcel that was going to be a park. That is the nature of that community up there. Flexibility in road improvements, frankly, it's going to be a gated community. There will be no access. Easing the county's burden, it's not a burden right now. So the only remaining real reason out there is property value enhancement. So I will just touch on this final point here. As members of this committee, just like as city council, we are all subject to ethics rules. You should not be participating in any decision making if you are in a position of financially benefiting at all. I do have concerns. I will say, Paul, I'm sorry, you are a petitioner on this, and I do have concerns. You signed on the petition August 1st, 2023, and moved through the whole Parks Master Plan process without disclosing your involvement in that. I do think that's a
I'd like
problem.
to address that.
Let me let her just finish.
I do think that's a problem. If you also look at the bylaws for this committee, in ethics, committee members shall review and observe the requirements of state ethics law and shall refrain from disclosing confidential information, taking action with which benefits special interest groups or persons at the expense of the city as a whole. I would say that perhaps that qualified as number 2. Section K of the bylaws, at the city of Scappoose, we believe in treating all people with respect and adhering to the highest standards of ethical and fair practices. We expect the same of our committee members. Selfishness. Committee members should make decisions in terms of public interest. They should do so in order to gain. They should not do so in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, their friends, or their families. Openness. Committee members should be as open as possible about all decisions and actions they make. They should give reasons for their decisions. Honesty. Committee members have a duty to declare any private interest relating to their public duties and take steps to resolve any conflicts arising in a way that protects the public interest. Leadership. Committee members should promote and support these principles by leadership and example. So I would just conclude by saying if any committee members feel that they are not able to adhere to the rules and the bylaws or the state ethics commission that they consider perhaps turning in notice for participation in the committee. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, you wanna?
Well, firstly, this is a road vacation. It is not a Vista Park elimination proceeding. So I've been on the Parks Committee for over 3 years. I've been in good standing. I think everybody knows that. My neighbors have been working on a road vacation for 5 years. So before I was involved, before I lived there. So, but the road vacation is about vacating the road. It's not about Vista Park. So that's just the facts. I think Councilor Holmes stated eliminating Vista Park. I don't think that says that's not listed anywhere in here. So I take exception to that, really, to be honest. There are many reasons for the road vacation.
Well, I think
Every resident is personally liable for any accidents that happen on that road. So any person that is on that road and gets hurt is going to come after the residents of that. That's all there is to it. And that is why the road vacation is happening. Because we are 100% responsible for the road, for the maintenance of the road. If anyone complains about there was an accident or something because of leaves on the road, because we didn't plow it, because a bump on the road, because of a crack, and because we are high value citizens, they will come after all of us who have signed our road maintenance agreement. And we are 100% liable. And that is the reasoning why the road vacation is happening. It has nothing to do with the things that you're saying about eliminating Vista Park. And I stand by the fact that I've been a great committee member in the Parks Committee, and the master plan had nothing to do with any of this road vacation whatsoever. Vista Park was on there. It's still Vista Park.
okay, we want to move the discussion of Vista Park up the agenda. And I mean, we've already jumped into the middle of this. Do we want to are you okay with that? Well,
Sure.
we'll see. Do you have any public
Do we
comment?
have any more public comment?
Okay. So why don't we address, I think we should probably address Kim's allocations. And I personally, I'm not saying that you have a conflict of interest or not, but I think there's potential or a perception of, and so I think it would be in your best interest to recuse yourself from any part of this decision as far as a recommendation to the council. Just my opinion. But
We're not deciding anything. You might want to talk to the microphone.
I think what my sense is that the council's hoping that we make a recommendation about the closure or non-closure of this road. That's, I see it on the agenda. I'm assuming that the outcome of that would be an affirmation of the staff's recommendation, which would be to not close the road. And I'm just thinking that we're going to make a decision on that. And maybe I'm getting ahead of the, or I mean, it's not a public hearing, but at the same time,
You're actually, well, what it sounds like is you're asking for opinions from the Parks Committee.
I want to disclose something real quick. This was not put on the agenda by staff's choice. This was at the request of the mayor, as far as I know.
Okay.
Okay.
Others, at least, not me.
and so I guess,
So staff, as far as our per se, we've already submitted our comments to the county in opposition.
Okay.
But tonight's discussion is not staff related. I would be happy to answer any questions that may be relevant to the discussion, but at this point,
so could you clarify what the city's role is? I mean, this is access to Vista Park, and what happens if this becomes private? I guess, end of the day,
well, yeah, I mean,
what
there's
does that
several
mean?
reasons from staff perspective as to why we're in opposition to this. One would be, yes, it is an 80-acre parcel. It is zoned differently within the mapping. If you look at, well, that one doesn't show on ours. Where the tanks are is actually public lands utility. It's not even public lands recreation. So to access, you're crossing through zoning differences. You're actually crossing through the water portion of the property to get to the public land park side of it, which is why the access from the south is important. The other thing is it's an 80-acre parcel, and to access 80 acres through one little road, Bella Vista, and that's your only access to it, to me is a major concern for emergency vehicles or whatever. If it be a forest fire or some sort of medical event up there, the fire department has very limited access to that property. As Councilor Holmes referenced, that road is not an ideal road. You literally have to go around the reservoirs, down by some stumps, through a goat trail to try to get through there. There's no way to get an ambulance to that upper end of that parcel, which is another reason to me why Luma Vista is so critical to keep open. I mean, it is a public road. Yes, it's privately maintained, but right now, I'm not sure that I agree with what Paul says about them being, yes, they may get named in a lawsuit, but it is a public road. It is a public right of way. The public does have access to be there. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. So,
all right.
Thank you.
And if I may just clarify, the purpose of my public comments was to raise awareness amongst committee members and encourage you, if you feel the same way, your last opportunity to be heard is at the May 22nd hearing at 10 a.m. So if you feel the same way and you have the ability to join, I would encourage you to do so.
So Joe, you submitted testimony. Are you looking for the Park Commission to make some kind of recommendation? Okay. Okay. So I guess I'd ask the committee, is this something you think you would want to weigh in on, or?
Well, I think it merits discussion.
Right.
And I could begin that discussion.
How about if we let staff give their
Oh,
recommendation,
yeah,
and then you'll be the first on the docket. Okay, all right. Dave?
as I previously said, I drafted a document of opposition to the county and submitted it already.
And so what were your highlighted reasons?
As I said, emergency access, limited access. We were at the table from the word go with the Steinke's. That partnership and that design was factored into the county's choices to design the plat the way it was accessing our property. We are an abutting property. In those documents, it talks about how at some point with annexation that could become a city-owned road and maintained future. I mean, so the future is unknown, but they planned on all of that when this was designed. And I agree also with Councilor Holmes that anybody who bought into that subdivision was post that decision. That road was already established, so they knew coming in that that property was there and that was an inherent risk to living there.
Okay. All right, JJ.
All right. Well, you know, I have worked with Paul. I think you're great. I've enjoyed working with you, and you know, it's been a real pleasure. But I just want to talk about a different perspective, and that's about the idea of parks, which to me is a very American idea. You know, a few hundred years ago, basically, all the high value citizens owned all the land, and people could occasionally graze their animals and stuff. But if they, you know, trespassed, they had all kinds of consequences for that, sometimes even death. And, you know, America's really amazing in creating this idea of parks for people. You know, I guess I'm a high value citizen now. You could say that. But you know, my father died on my 10th birthday. I'm sorry, getting a little emotional, but at that point, I was subjected to extreme poverty and violence, and being able to go somewhere wild allowed me to survive. And I think that, you know, part of the reason why I do the things that I do for our community is that I know how hard it is for just regular people. And it's like by limiting parks and you know, what it sounds like with this particular part, the idea that we would be limiting, you know, access for people with disabilities. You know, I've got cerebral palsy in my left leg, and we need to do the right thing, and that is to provide access to parks for people, period. You know, and I understand the idea of liability and those consequences. I do. I have experienced that on a number of occasions, but at the end of the day, to be to be good citizens, we need to think of all of our citizens and we need to think of all of their needs. When, Mike twisted my arm to do movies in the park many years ago, the idea was that we could provide something free for people to enjoy and have a positive experience in our parks. And that has expanded to Earth Day, which has, been hugely successful. And now the Scappoose Outdoor Fun Festival, which is once again free and really accessible for people. And so I'm a huge advocate for people that have challenges to be able to access green space. It is essential to mental health, it is essential to well-being, and it creates a better community. Thank you.
Can you have comments?
I just have a few comments. I'm just gonna purely look at this from a park standpoint. If you have a park where it is not possible to have emergency access, you don't have a park. You'll never be able to develop a public park without adequate emergency access. And typically you don't want a single access point either. So I have concern as a citizen that very much limiting the city's ability to ever develop this park in any way that we've shaped within the master plan. So I obviously have concerns for the citizens who are on those plots. But I think from a park standpoint, from a public access, it's very important to keep all of our options open. If this was an option that was planned for, platted for during the development of the properties themselves, then if there's not another option that has been presented by those who are trying to vacate, adequate cities, property owner or neighboring property owner, and I just have concerns from a park standpoint about access, emergency access, kind of water or sewer or anything like that. If that's where it's planned to come up, that's my thing.
Oh, you have any comments?
I'd like to add some clarity because obviously, first of all, I think a lot of people haven't been on this road before. Luma Vista is incredibly dangerous, 270-degree turns, corners that are less than 18 feet wide, the road, terrible sight lines. But nowhere in this did it say that from an emergency aspect that it would be denying anything. Nowhere does it say that if there was emergency access needed, that the road would be closed. Nowhere does it say that here. There's a lot of people are jumping to some conclusions on this thing. So in general, I think if the Parks Committee and others go up and drive Luma Vista, go check it out, you'll see how dangerous that road is. See kids that have been literally run off the road because there is no sight lines at all. If you want to talk about planning, the park, quote unquote, Vista Park has been over 60 years in existence, 60 years without a Luma Vista Drive. What was the plan? What was the plan back then in the 60s when we had this property? What was the plan in the 70s? What was the plan in the 80s? What was the plan in the 90s? So this park has been around for a long time, a long, long time. The plat maps show Bella Vista going into the park in 1971. In 2000 something, early 2000 is when the Luma Vista Drive was created. So this whole thing about, history and everything else, I would just say for the park people or people have never been on that road before, go walk it, go check it out. And when you walk up that road, watch your back because there are people going up and down that road, flying around those corners with zero sight lines. And I honestly go check it. It might look really nice and smooth from the top view, but it is honestly, I don't know how it was ever approved, but that was way before my time. So, and nowhere on here does it say that the road will be closed, nowhere does it say that emergency access wouldn't be allowed.
Chris, do you have any that you want to share?
Yeah.
Well, I've driven that road a lot of times. and it's not the best road, but Canyon's not a really good road either. A lot of folks live on it, so have it's a challenge. But I guess at the end of the day, one of the biggest concerns we had when we spent hours looking at how to best develop this particular park was how do you access it? And if you look the area down below, it's hopefully inadequate because you have your reservoirs there and about a 40, 50 wide, and it's challenging at best to create maybe 3 or 4 parking areas for really the largest park the city has. And there's some really fabulous trails up there, but there's no access. And if you do, and one of the problems is you have to park in front of people's homes in order to access it. And there's like 1 or 2 places you can really park. So I think Kim hit it on the head. Is I mean, if we lose public access to that park, then why keep the property? Honestly, but I would. At one point in time, there was a real passion to develop a parking area up there with a vista point because it would have been really pretty special. But ran into resistance from an attorney that lived up there that didn't like the idea, and so the council just kind of stepped aside and didn't move it forward. But I guess my concern is also from getting a fire truck up there, and also BPA has a big power line that goes right through there, one of the major ones in the county, and having access to that, and from a public power standpoint, having access up there to for a wildfire is critical. And that worries me because there's a lot of trees up there, and the city did a nice job to thin that and clean it up and make it a lot safer. But I just would, if there's a better way to access that park, that's really, I think, worth talking about, but I don't know what that is. And no access, it doesn't really, it's really just a small neighborhood park. It's my feedback. So what do you guys you want to make a recommendation to anyone or just,
Well, I mean, I think, I mean, I think that if park members want to attend the county commissioners meeting, that would be great. Kim did actually draft a letter, uh, for park members that wanted to sign off on it. I mean, I'd
Okay.
obviously do that, but,
okay,
there's no pressure on that. But I really think that, we, now that I've composed myself, I really think that, you know, it is essential for people to access parks, period. And we need to be vigorous in our action to ensure that people have access to parks because it is just so essential to community. So, but, and I would encourage, and anybody that is concerned about it, you know, share your opinions and your perspective at the county commissioner meeting.
any other comments? All right, thanks for bringing this to our attention. Okay, why don't we move on to birthday update? So I guess that's a little bit late. It's
It's all right. Well, it's the
how
recap.
about the
It's
recap
the
and then,
recap,
and then the
yeah.
summer festival update?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Anyway, I'm JJ Dorn, Vice Chair, and doing a lot of volunteer work for the community. Oh, kind of exciting. We went to park our electric car, and all the Tesla chargers were full. So that was awesome. Just thought that was pretty great. But we had an extraordinary Earth Day celebration. It was over the top. I really have to thank Dave and his crew for doing such a great job of cleaning up that park. It was, I watched Dave. He was there that day doing last minute stuff, and it's like that is just so heartening because, once again, the parks are for people, and the fountain looked fantastic. We had to turn off the water because it got a little a little chilly for people. But Yeah, it was a great time. We had great performers. We had lots of sponsors. You know, it's really great how our businesses are really supporting this. And, you know, that ultimately saves taxpayer dollars. But what it really does is it gets buy-in from the community. So our partners like Fred Meyer, Starbucks, Buy Mart, um, Columbia River PUD, thank you very much. You know, Western Heating and everybody's just so excited to get involved in these things. So it's a privilege that I get to do this because you know I used to have to do this a lot when I worked on the air on and in radio and TV for years. And the other kind of side note about the Earth Day celebration is that there was a national photography contest for this PBS floral show called Life in Bloom. It's like, I think it's on Thursdays here in Portland. But anyway, I had gotten a great shot of myself. My husband took a great shot of me as Mother Nature. And then at the end of the day, I gave my flower crown to a little girl and I got a shot of that. And so I'm a pretty good writer. So I wrote a little bit about it and I won. So uh, that's pretty exciting that we got that little side thing from Earth Day. So it was a pretty cool deal. Now for the Scappoose Outdoor Fun Festival, that is really coming along well. That has been a ridiculous amount of work, but it's really going to be an exceptional event. We've got lots of great sponsors. We've got a lot of really interactive activities because to me, that's really key to these events. So I've got a guy that calls himself the Rock Hound that's going to bring a geode cracking tool, breaking geodes. And then I've got another person that does lapidary that will be bringing that. We've got it's funny, it's like I wanted to get like really great, cool outdoor things. So I found two guys that make legal mushrooms and they do it. And when I went to the Saturday market last week, one of the guys is a juggler. So I said, well, if you could juggle and do mushrooms, that would be awesome. So we've got that. We've got a kids nature art show. We've got the Portland Audubon Society coming. They're going to have a booth there. And so we've got all of these activities that are camping and outdoor related. We're going to be giving away a ton of stuff as we do with all of our events. And of course, it's free. We're also bringing back the Scappoose sauerkraut sandwich because you know, it's about the sauerkraut festival. And so the community club's going to be doing that and they'll make, you know, all the money from that. But Jeff Weiss has worked so hard on this and so have I. And thank you, Mike, and to everybody that's really helped financially support this. You know, the other great thing is that we saved the city $90,000. So I feel good about that too. So that is what we've got going on. It's June 8th from 10 to 6. We'll have live music all day. We're going to have someone teach line dancing at 1. We've got Native American dancers coming. We've got a lot. But I'm really excited and I hope to see all of you there.
So how is the community club doing? Is their membership? I mean, they've kind of just been hanging on for a number of years. Are they?
You know, one of the things that I've been able to do is, as I am a bit of a persuasive person, is I've been able to get companies like Fred Meyer and other organizations to donate things that I let the community club resell. And then, of course, with the Scappoose Grocery Outlet donating all the burgers and hot dogs, we have all the proceeds go to the community club, and it's going from 50 cents to $1. I know, big jump, but still, you know,
Good.
I think people can afford $1. So yeah, it's really been a big help, and they've got more people coming and joining. So it really has helped to revitalize that organization as well.
Good. Dave.
I just want to touch back on the Earth Day thing. I want to give a special shout out to the Scappoose Bay Watershed Council.
Yes.
When we were in the planning stages for this event, between Jeff and JJ and I, we kind of talked about the cleanup, this all cleanup side of it. And I'm like, I don't really know where to send people because if there's trash to pick up, Public Works isn't doing their job and they work really hard to keep the city clean. So I'm like, I don't know where to send these people. What do you think about a planting project? And so they're like, yeah, that sounds great. So we reached out to Scappoose Bay Watershed and they coordinated the planning along this easy trail and they came through with that amazingly.
Right.
And there was a big turnout, mayor included, out there helping them plant those plants. And I think they got that done in record time. I don't know if you remember how many, but there were several hundred plants done in less than, I think, 2 hours. So it was an impressive effort out there. And I just want to give them a thanks for
Yeah, that was great. I mean, because part of the challenge with the CZ Trail along the Columbia County portion is just so much invasive species. So it is so important that we have native plants along those trails, because not only does that enhance the quality of the trail, but it also enhances wildlife habitat.
So was the mayor out there just for photos or was he actually working?
We made him work. He
No,
works
he
his butt
was
off.
working. He was working.
Good.
I had to bring him extra shovels, actually. So
Actually, I seen him work.
Oh, you can plant another one.
I did see you working over by the Watts house.
No, it was a
That
great.
Watts house is looking good these days. My God. Great historic society.
yeah, going back to the previous year, we did the, and Joe was in charge of down at Chapman Landing at the end of it. He's like, down here, they had just a small little pile, but actually Counselor Holmes helped me along the highway, and oh boy, that was a truckload. So we had a lot of debris on that stretch, but this year our crews have been doing a more extensive effort to try to keep up on that than our own staff. So it would have been nice. We were going to do it if we would have had enough people, but there just wasn't enough signups. And so we niched that.
Well, just and because I did talk to Jeff just a little while ago, so I had to take over some posters. Apparently not the fountain is fantastic. You know, the Michael Curry fountain is fantastic. The water fountain, however, is broken. And so I don't know if he's talking about
That water fountain has been a nightmare since the day we installed it.
Yes.
It was received through the library on a grant. We didn't
Right.
purchase it.
Okay.
All three valves within it are malfunctioning, and we're doing our best to repair them or replace. So I hope, and I've seen the ugly comments on Facebook. I apologize. There's
Oh,
nothing.
no, it's not your fault. It's just like, and I don't think June 8th is going to be a horribly hot day. Oh, and we're also going to have Smokey the Bear. We've got, the forestry department's going to be there talking about wildfire
Oh, good.
prevention. So Smokey the Bear is going to be there for kids. And it's funny. It's like, I've been trying to get Smokey for a long time, but it's always been like for August. And so basically, the forestry department gets all of their new plebes in June. And so they just pick one of those and they have to wear the smoky suit. So, but he'll be inside, he or she will be inside, but the kids can get pictures. And so, and that's really the whole idea with the outdoor festival, is to really educate and create stewards of our wild spaces. That's really what we need.
Okay. Well, great job on that. It's really wonderful to go to an event and see a lot of folks there and a lot of community engagement. No, that was a home run. Good job.
Thank you. Over. It'll be the only food there. It'll be great.
um,
Good.
You,
Yeah, apparently the sausage, the
Dinners?
sandwich is a real thing. So I've gotten numerous calls from members of the community club talking about the kind of sausage that we need. And so it's great. I mean, but it's like, it's going to be fun to see how people respond to the sausage sandwich, the sauerkraut sandwich coming back. Oh,
good. That's
Yeah.
good to hear.
yeah.
Great.
Well, and you guys are always great at the events, so it's
Good.
been really fun having you there. Yeah, I talked to Paul. So Paul Barlow's going to have his bike shop booth there, but he may not be there for the whole time, but he's got some workers that are going to look into it.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for coming
In a couple weeks.
and, moving right along, we kind of covered new business 3.1 Luma Vista. There's nothing more to say with that, I don't believe. 3.2, we have park master plan. CIP.
Actually,
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
please. My final
Yeah,
thoughts on
sure.
that. I like to take it all in, so sometimes it takes me a little while to process. I can appreciate both sides of an argument. I think it's really important for the public to be able to, just for anyone to be able to have conversation about changes that people may want to do. It's healthy, it's natural, it's what we need to do in order to move business forward. What really has struck me today, and it brings me back to a statement that a gentleman I began working with back in St. John's when I started my civic duty had told me long ago. He said, politics is a blood sport. And if you don't have it, you can't go through it, get out. And I have to say, in my short term of being in this role, I'm seeing it come to life. And I see the underbelly of it that I don't find kind. And while Counselor Holmes, I absolutely respect your counter argument to this vacation request by the residents. I find objection to the manner in which you I feel that could have been done in a better way. And perhaps maybe you had a conversation with this council, with counselor, with committee member Paul beforehand, but it doesn't feel like it did. And honestly, I feel like we should do better in how we engage with our citizens and with committee members. For me, as someone sitting up here and experiencing it, that didn't feel good. So I feel like as counselors, we could do better. And so I will not give any position on this matter because I am not educated enough, but I definitely, I'm just saddened by the way that had to go down. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I like to comment. So since I was questioned so directly and harshly by Counselor Holmes, I guess the question I have to ask to the Parks Committee is, do you still want me on the Parks Committee? There's going to be 2 new business items that I worked on. Ian and I worked last week on this plan for the disc golf. I worked really hard on the master plan. Whatever needed to get done or was asked to us, I did. Now I'd be in questions about that I was part of the master plan. I've been on this committee 3.5 years, and I've put my heart and soul into it. But if it's being questioned, I'm a volunteer, and so I have to ask you guys if you still want me around.
I don't have any objection to that either way. I mean, and to me, it would seem like if that was really an issue, that would be like wouldn't that be more of a city issue? When they have to resolve, I mean, I know that, I mean, if there are real allegations of misconduct, I think that's, but yeah, I've got no problem with you being here.
Ian, you want to weigh in at all?
Paul, I find you a very valuable member of the committee. I personally do not want to see you go. I understand that we are all members, citizens, and property owners in this community, and eventually something will come up that involves us or a nearby neighbor of us. And while I would have, appreciated like a heads up, like, hey, this is what's happening on my side of things. Like, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't put any kind of vote to not be a member. I find your input very valuable and passionate towards the community and the parks portion of the community.
And I agree, Paul. I think you're really passionate about the future of this community, and you're not afraid to speak up and voice your opinion. And And, sometimes we'll, my philosophy is be hard on the issue, but not on the person. We are, we need to work together. If we're going to be successful. We have to kind of look past, we got to go from issue to issue, and when it's over, move on. And, but they, one of my comments early on in the discussion was based really on my sense as a city manager that, this, I don't know if you have a conflict, but there's a perception of it, and just for your protection, for your sake, when I have somebody who is on the committee, I would caution them not to vote on something if there was a vote, because it just keeps, it just keeps
I
you out
agree
of
with
trouble. And that's all that I was looking for. But let's move on into, I think we had a good conversation and went to the next issue. Okay. So now we are going to go to the park master plan CIP list prioritization. Dave, you want to?
Yeah, so we're getting deep into the evening for what could be a lengthy conversation here. I will leave it up to you. What I'd done, reciprocating back to lots of previous discussions with the committee of, hey, let's give our input in a productive way and create the partnership between the committee and the public works staff and the city as a whole. So I'm trying to help that flourish and engage in these conversations. So at the last meeting, I asked the committee to maybe look that list over, and let's start thinking about some prioritization of what amenities do we as a group want to make that everybody agrees on. In the master plan, there is a nice list in the appendix C, page 2, I think. If you haven't done that, maybe between now and the next meeting, we revisit that and look through that list, because it's pretty specific to a lot of different things per park. And we could take the stance of building the new park, which we're still working on. Yep, that's exactly it. We want to move forward with some version of grab horn, but aside from that, I don't think we want to put all of our eggs in that basket. I think we want to keep sharing the wealth across the board. And so if we look at some of these other low hanging fruit, as a lot of people would refer to, projects, I think we should keep that on the horizon. There's money in the budget. We have slightly modified the budgeting this year, because the way the general fund works previously is we would get X amount of dollars. And then if that didn't get exhausted that year, it would go back into the general fund, and then we would reallocate every year. Well, the general fund will never allow that to be more than $100,000 or $200,000. So we'll never get to do any kind of a grandiose project. And so how we've changed that is now we started a savings program. So we're pulling and setting that money into a council approved projects funding, so that when we get enough saved up and there's a big enough project, we'll go to council and ask for their permission to build said project.
So given the time, this is probably a half-hour conversation, don't you think?
It could be the entire meeting, depending on how.
So you want to just kind of
get into
dedicate,
it.
you guys want to dedicate the next meeting to have this conversation, give it the kind of time it deserves?
Yeah, I would, yeah, I think that's great. Yeah,
Okay.
we can just really look at it. Now, let me ask you this, so, because I always get confused a little bit. So is it okay for us to email conversations about this
With Dave?
with Dave and with us talking about it before the meeting, or no?
Not the specialist on the bylaws of this committee,
Right.
but I think as long as you never create a quorum, is my understanding that emailing is
Okay.
okay.
I think you can share feedback with him. Just don't tell him what to do.
We're not setting policy. All we're doing is discussing a list
Yeah.
of things.
Okay.
It
Share
is,
feedback, but
yeah.
don't say, hey, Dave, I want this in there.
League of Oregon Cities is very
Cross
clear
that
about
line.
this.
Okay.
Right.
So Paul, are you okay if we carry this to the next meeting and focus an hour on it, or?
Yeah, I've also reached out. I'm part of the EDC, Economic Development Committee, and they have, this is informally now, some suggestions as well. Like, for example, from the economic development point of view, water access, Chapman Landing, that'd be a driver, et cetera, et cetera. So I can bring that to the table as well
Good.
next week.
It's great. That's very helpful. So you want to jump into the grab horn proposal real quick and talk about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna
All right,
let Ian and Paul take that one away.
all right, let's do it.
Okay, I can jump in here. That's all right with everybody. In the back of the packet today, there's 2 diagrams. This is really some high level thinking on what a potential disc golf course could look like, using the opportunities of open space at Grabhorn, and then also being able to work in unison with veterans as well to create a a large enough course that the community would be able to enjoy. So if you look at Exhibit A, page 1, see in the top left. Uh, I'll just kind of explain the light green color. It's kind of thicker, bold line. That would be like the sort of the shape of the hole, the length of the hole. And up in the top right, you see like a number 1 is 230 feet long. That corresponds with the number 1 hole. And then you'll see a little dash kind of blob around that line. That's a 50-foot buffer from the center of that line in either direction, assuming none of us throw a straight disc. I know I don't. So I'm just trying to understand, like, in a general term, I did some research about disc golf. 50 feet is a general buffer that discs can fly in the past or when you throw them, as typical info. And then the dashed orange lines are, there are improvements out there now that really don't want to mix disc golf with the playground, for instance. So trying to keep a buffer away from those too, and then seeing what kind of space we have left. So what you see is 9 holes, approximately 2,400 linear feet of disc golf. And I played around with probably 6 or 8 different iterations of this. And do you start near the parking lot or do you finish near the parking lot? Start near the parking lot over what will be future grab horn. And what you see in front of you is a version that the round itself begins over on the west side of Veterans Park. So you're already walking to get there, which is fine because you're out to walk anyway. And it does not utilize Concom Link, because in order to do some improvements quickly, we don't have the funds to build a bridge. So there's no other way to get to Concom Link to utilize that. But the next page, if you want to look at it, shows a couple of holes if or when a bridge does connect veterans to Concom Link, how we could actually further integrate disc golf. That becomes something the community wants versus some other of the improvements that we put forward in the master plan as ideas, such as community garden or volleyball court or whatever. So, and then lastly, you'll see a white, really dotted line. That's an interpretation of how to put that creek front trail through there in order to kind of respond best to the course itself and keep people on the trail as safe as you can. So I tried to line them up out the outer edge of that 50-foot buffer. So trying to plan, that walkway in with what potential disc golf there could be. And so Paul and I talked after I presented him with some options, and we kind of landed on this because we felt like this was the most appropriate use of funds and probably the easiest to build in time, easiest to put forward. So you basically start on the west end and you play through. A lot of them follow the creek, and then you play up and you finish up sort of north of. I think that's a maintenance barn there on Veterans Park, north of the dog park. And if you want to play 3 holes, you find the holes you want to play, and yeah.
Oh,
So I played a course like this 2 weeks ago in Nevada, very similar, that it was an established park that had ball fields, etc. And they kind of wove it in like this. And for those of you who aren't aware, there's a thing called mandatories or mandos in disc golf, so that like it might look like you can just do straight, Dave, but you actually put like garbage cans out, and they're called mandos that you have to go around. So like it'd be pretending there'd be trees there, kind of thing. So you put like 55-gallon drums or whatever, and they're just, and so that can also keep it a little more interesting. Like, so if you look at 7, for instance, or 8, it looks like a curve because you can put a mando in there to make it look more interesting than just throw it straight. So that's going to be needed when we actually walk this course to give it a little bit of variety. Yeah. Not everything is just throwing it straight, because some of these holes are fairly short. So you want to give a little bit of toughness to it, little things like that. But I think it's very doable in the setup. And I gave Ian the comment that this is a short to medium sized course. So it's like great for all levels, but like very obtainable for like just someone trying it for the first time. So it's nothing crazy long that you're like, I could never throw it, 500 feet or whatever. So that was kind of the thoughts as we put together the length.
So I'm just curious why you wanted west side
Oh.
for the,
My idea on that one was it's the most visible. And so we really want to show that we have disc golf there. I think that it would help the community know that we have disc golf. If we, if it's if it doesn't, the first one of our designs didn't quite even go close to the road. And we're kind of going, hey, like we want to show that we got golf here now. So that was kind of my thoughts on that. At the same time, if this is a ball field and everything else, like, well, disc golf kind of starts on this side. And then, if we do soccer games on this side, that was a thought. It doesn't have to be that way, just an idea.
my own thought is in the, where that house is on the right in the.
Yeah.
Be at that time when that's finished, maybe you could.
Yeah, and we could also renumber. I mean,
Ah. There are infinite number of ways that
Yes.
you can out this. But without a bridge to Concomly, it from a practical standpoint, if you start on the east side and you're moving west with the holes, you end up hitting a bottleneck where you have to come backwards. So from a flow standpoint, you start on the west row and you move east. If west, and I tried this a lot, and the only way it worked from a efficiency standpoint is when there is a bridge on Concomly, you can then loop through Concomly up to Veterans and head east from that point. So it's possible, but from an efficiency of a walking standpoint, start on the west without a bridge is, my opinion, the easiest way for the most amount of people.
I have a question. So this is great. Like, thank you for all the work you guys put into this. The only thing that I look at this and I'm like, is the first out of all the throws, the first one, it's actually crossing the path and all the others aren't crossing the path. I'm thinking about people walking, also the closeness to the road, flies off into the road. Just wondering if you gave that any consideration and just, am I overthinking it or?
I will say that the course that I played, the paths went in and out the entire course. And there were signs that says, like, for the path guys, watch out for disc golf. Like it has like a pointer.
Okay.
I mean, and everything here is very short. I mean, so this is a very short hole. Like you'd see this is not, you're not flinging it
Okay.
like a million miles. I mean, if it's a major concern, we could look at it, but that's kind of just from my point of view, what the courses that I just played.
So I do have a quick question. So because I've never been to a park that has disc golf. So have there been problems with people that are hiking and disc golfers, or has that ever been an issue, or do you guys even know that?
I don't know, but I would not sit here and say that there wouldn't issues with mixing disc golf with walking.
We're talking
Eventually would
we're talking about a frisbee, right?
Yeah.
Have they changed?
It's a heavy
it?
frisbee.
Do some damage.
Not your, you take
That's the ones I used to
They're
play
smaller and
play at the.
heavier. They're
Okay.
smaller and heavier.
Right. Yeah.
I think that there would need to be signage. It would need to be robust. And as you can see by the pathways, that all this is just very high level and just a general notion that we were asked to potentially present something to the city for them to take further.
Oh, yeah.
I would propose any future pathways to get put in, and with this in mind, dotted white lines to minimize potential issue of conflict.
Yeah.
But when there's the first hole, have that because that pathway is there now.
Right.
So there's obviously ways, if that's something that the city doesn't want to do, cross paths, There's ways to adjust that,
Look at
or
it.
drop a hole or move a
8
hole.
holes,
Like, you,
if that's the case too. I mean, the thing is, we haven't walked this yet.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we, and well, I'll bring some discs out too. And yeah, I mean, if it's 8 holes, I think people will be pretty excited about 8 holes too.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. That's just my only.
No, it's good feedback. Yeah,
that was
it's great feedback.
it's important to understand what the safety factors are. And I mean, yeah, I think you want to keep those discs away from the playground. Most importantly, that's where the youngest kids aren't paying attention to what's going on around them. They physically don't have that capacity at this point. So
Right there too. I think just when you guys go to walk it, because you'll see like when coming off of JP West, you can continue alongside or you can enter into the park. So sometimes you just have walkers who are, chit chat, not really paying attention. So if there's a way to not cross one of the paths.
Okay, I'm gonna go Scotty and then we'll go Mayor and then Dave. Scotty?
Yeah, hi. So I currently work at a place that has a disc golf course, kind of similar to this. It's in a fairly open area, short holes, paths through. And I really love the idea and would love to kind of dive into maybe some more like what can we propose. I just want to say that I have experience with people on walking paths getting frustrated with disc golf, and especially with that transition from this was a non-disc golf course to a disc golf course. Obviously, people change can be hard for anyone, but I deal with it frequently in my job of people feeling like it's unsafe, and those discs, when thrown hard, can be really strong. So I think my other concern is because it is kind of this open course and short holes, that does make it really inviting for newer disc golf players. And with newer disc golf players, myself included, that means the discs are much more wily. They're not as necessarily straight or following that precise curve that I think we would all really love to see. That being said, though, like I love the idea of having the disc golf course. I think it's a really great way to get people to the park and get them moving around. So definitely open to discussion about not crossing the paths or figuring out ways to kind of avoid those hazards.
Thank you, Scotty. Mayor?
You taking public comment? Yeah, I like it. It looks really good. I just question on number 9. Did you say a reason why you tee off, you have to walk up and then throw back instead of throwing from this lower portion up to the top? Because if you moved one, like just up around to the corner a little bit, you won't cross a path. You'll start, so you could park up in the parking lot, walk down to 1, right past the home run fence, circle kind of right, follow the contour of the trees, and then you walk over to 2, and then they all look good. And then if you flip 9, you'd finish right up at the parking lot again.
really good point. That's an error. 9
Okay.
should finish up on the north side.
Then there is a creek right through there. You would probably have to walk over that little stream, Dave. I think
Yeah.
that blue, it continues up there somewhere, but it's little. But then maybe by the time you guys, we develop 7 and 8 into a parking lot and a pickleball court, we'll have a bridge, and 10 and 11 can take the place or something.
Over $1 million.
Even 9, just having 9 is great. And
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Dave?
Yeah, lots of little notes here. So for one, thank you, gentlemen, for doing this. This is exactly what I'd hoped we would get from it. The other thing that might be worthy exercise, since you guys are artists, is to add the pickleball rendering into the picture here, just as a planning kind of exhibit. The bridge, I think, is a feasible thing within the next 3 to 5 years, personally. And it's something that's on our planning horizon. Just haven't come forth with council quite yet to talk about it, but I think with our footpaths fund, with the way it's building and the way other things are going, I think that that's a good option to help fund it. There's about $240,000 available in that fund right now that, quite frankly, I think would pay for a bridge. I think it would land probably sub 200, 150 per wood laminated bridge to get over there. So keep that on the horizon. The other thing for your play arounds, Paul, that we had thrown out is I'm okay with planting some trees out there You know, there is the potential that, yeah, they may get tore out 10, 20, maybe never years from now. But I think that as you guys think about that, rather than barrels, I mean, why not plant some semi-mature trees? You know, they might cost us $400 or $500 each, but to me, that's well worth it in the grand scheme of things because the park needs more trees in general. I mean, Grabhorn is a very open spot that needs some shade, so I think that maybe food for thought there. As far as the course, I play golf quite a bit myself, and I would probably just jump in wherever. So to me, it's irrelevant what you number. If you choose to park at Smith Road and play that direction, I don't think anybody's gonna, as long as you don't cut somebody off and you play gracefully, I don't know that anybody's gonna care. Um, there's a small short course up at a church up in Yankton that we used to play a lot, and so playing around little things and short throws is pretty common. So I think this would be very fun. The other thing to think about is maybe just a soft start where we just put the baskets on the Grabhorn parcel, get people used to that, and then we add the ones further down just to kind of get people used to what's going on rather than going full potatoes and getting everybody in an uproar. I do think that most disc golf players are very courteous. They're going to recognize that somebody's walking and they're probably going to sit tight and wait till they clear. Yes, there's inherent risk to this, as Ian's, I mean, things are flying in the air. There's the potential for something. But golf players are usually very courteous to making sure that where they're throwing is clear. So we go down to McCormick Park with our RC crawlers, and we run around in the middle of their course all the time and stand behind trees and wait for them to play through. I mean, people are just courteous when it comes to that. And as far as trying it, you guys probably do too, but I've got 3 portable baskets you're willing to use to go stick out there and just try playing because, like I said, I do enjoy the sport myself.
I just had some
Go ahead.
more comments. You will see that the Grabhorn plan is superimposed on here. I do want to point out that the future stormwater retention areas have been they remain. So in incremental improvements on Grabhorn to get us where we need to get to. Usually stormwater is one of the first things you need to do because you can't build a parking lot without having the stormwater retention for it. So I tried to do that, and I tried to connect the pathways to the future Grabhorn parking that's going to come off of that Smith Road.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we would want to overlay this with, and I'm going to get to this in a minute, but like the Reach F project is moving forward. So there's going to be some enhancement to the creek frontage that is going to,
Is that gonna happen?
Huh?
Does that happen this
it is
year?
going to happen. And I'm going to give it in my report here in a minute.
Okay,
And so you'd want to factor that in. And then, you know, the path, I don't know that you overlaid it, but the one that's shown on the Grabhorn exhibit, yes, it's very liquid. We can move that wherever. So everything is up to decipher and find still.
so we got flexibility. Very good. Any other feedback? Thumbs up, everyone? Yeah, great work. Great job, Ian and Paul.
Ian did most of it, to be honest. So you got to give him the credit.
Nice job, Ian.
Ian, good job.
And Scotty, thanks for your comments. I tell you, we're really lucky to have the level of talent in this committee that we have. So appreciate everybody's efforts. Okay, JJ, what's left here?
I don't know if there's anything left. Oh, grant opportunities. I got nothing.
I don't
Um,
have anything either.
yeah.
Anybody have anything about grant opportunities? Okay,
Not today.
so
This is pushed forward.
the next meeting, we're gonna talk about capital improvements. And anything else that anyone can think of that we need to talk about?
I'll have to give a recap of the outdoor festival
Okay,
if I'm alive.
do we need to revisit disc golf? I think that we're far enough along that.
What I'd just say is what is, we need to plan for next steps. So we just presented it. So I think if anyone has any comments in the next 30 days, after you look at it, get it back to us. And then whoever wants to go for a walk, we'll plan a walk and, probably, I don't know, mid-June or something like that for a walk
Yeah,
or.
June, I think we can just meet out at the park. kind of fun to get.
So, yeah, I would say if you guys want to refine this design, that's great. But what we had talked about all along is after the master plan was having a joint work session with council and the Parks Committee. So if we could land on the CIP prioritization and this plan, I would suggest that we have that work session where we present these concepts to council and get
Okay.
their buy-in. If they get the buy-in, then we'll move forward with going back to design on Grabhorn so we can get something ready to submit for the grant.
Okay, you're talking about the disc golf stuff?
The whole
whole-
concept
the whole
of what we
concept.
want to put in Grabhorn for the amenities. I'm recognizing that they're still showing the soccer / T-ball fields, which I think is great. That's still something I think that has a very viable need.
So somebody asked me earlier, I think, it might have been Joe. So if we made improvements before the grant, could we use that as match? And I don't know that you can. I think you can't, uh, can't be retroactive with a grant application for improvements that are in the ground. I'm pretty sure you can't, but this golf is fairly insignificant in cost, I would expect.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. Have you guys done any cost assessments? I'm guessing about 1,000 per hole. Is that?
So,
I sent this to you, but you got a lot of information. A professional hole, which is what we want, right? Like recreational quality, is like $500. Or like 450. And then of course the insulation. So you're gonna, put it in the ground. You just need a little. But then there are a number of options for the tee boxes. So on the varying level, like the cheapest way is we can just put some markers up, like literally, and that's it. The next level up is to put some stone or gravel, and then the best way is to put a concrete pad. So depending, you know that better than me. So
The baskets that I saw were like $300 to $400. You may be looking at a higher quality one, which we could do. I'm envisioning that the pad installed would like $700 each, give or take.
so there we go.
so this is something we probably want to do this year or not. I mean, we're not gonna wait to go forward with the grant. You'll probably plug these in and
We could look at that, but I guess at this juncture, what I'd want to do is still just get the park on papers,
Okay.
at least at a 10 to 30% design, so we have something to submit for the grant, because that's how we're going to be able to pay for the bathrooms in the parking lot.
okay, perfect.
So, whether we build the baskets in advance of that, I don't know at this juncture, but
Any feedback on that? Is there an urgency about that, or is it better to maybe put a final design after we're 30% along on the design? Does that? Joe?
Well, you had mentioned portables. Is there a way to do some portables just
Two or
this
three?
summer, this fall, to let people kind of get used to it and you guys can see?
I wouldn't recommend portables, that they'll be taken.
They're easy ones that we can put in, take out.
Well,
It can be stolen, I guess is what.
Yeah.
stolen. I mean,
What's
the
your-
thing is that, so a professional quality being, it's recreational quality, it's heavy duty. They're like $450. And then, you want to put them in the ground, you need, and so, like any other fence post. The cheapest ones, you can get one for $100 or less, but you don't want to just lay it there because someone will take them.
I think we'd be okay from the public works perspective of buying some and go ahead and put them in ground.
Two or
Just
three?
cover the field with a temporary, like you were saying, just put a couple tee box markers and
Yeah.
say, here's,
Yeah.
you're throwing.
A
to
lot
that
of
one,
people
throwing to
do-
that
a
one.
lot
We
of
could do
places-
that this
It's-
summer.
Just
right now.
something to kind of give
I
people.
don't think
a
1 and
flavor of-
2 would matter because you're not going to move 1 and 2, that you're not going to rebuild anything in veterans. You can put something on the veteran side now.
Well, the reality is they could design a temporary course that where that soccer field is shown, you could put baskets and just litter that whole thing with some version of a course for
So-
short term until we get to the next steps.
So short term and then we can integrate a final design with says 20-30% plan.
Because the grant won't be applied till next April and you won't find out till after. I mean, you wouldn't even be digging till next summer.
You
It'd
get,
be nice to have something,
you
some
apply in
holes,
April.
a few things to get people used to it.
you apply in April, you go for the board in July and they appropriate in September. So it'd be next. be the
1, 2,
spring
3, and
following.
9 or wouldn't even be in.
Yeah, so it'd be the
that, or you
spring
might be able
following.
to do them now.
Would be a year and a half out. Okay.
So over this next month, would you guys want to sketch up something just on the Grabhorn parcel for a temporary course that maybe incorporates a couple tree plantings or something, or?
Okay.
Sure. It would work for the long term too.
Well, good. Sounds great.
Questions on the baskets again, Dave?
Appreciate that.
So maybe you and Ian can kind of chat about interim. Okay. Scotty, anything you want to bring to the good of the group?
I think I'm good.
Okay. We're glad you were.
Love to get you involved since you're also have knowledge on this topic. So we'll include you on the course design.
Yeah, I
Is
would
that a
love to
motion?
be a part of that.
Awesome.
Okay, is that a motion or is that just unanimous? Unanimous, okay. Okay, anything else we need to talk about tonight?
Did you want a Parks update?
Yes, absolutely. I knew there was something I was missing. That's why I
That now?
threw it out there.
Right.
So,
So Public Works is busy. Obviously, everything's growing in full speed right now, so we're doing our best to keep on top of it, which honestly, I think the parks are looking really good. I think the crew's doing a great job. We have been doing some additional vegetation mowing down at Chapman Landing. We mowed Commerce for the first time since we've owned it this past week. We're looking to continue with that. I do want to have some dialogue with you guys moving forward about trail. We'd like to just put some sort of temporary trail out there and maybe stick a couple benches. I've got some benches in inventory right now that would be great to get out there. Right now, we're just working on getting access. We're out to bid on our First and Maple sidewalk project, and as a component of that is building the driveway into Commerce so that we can get Public Works equipment vehicles in and out of that, and then we'll incorporate trails from the asphalt path down into the property. So stay tuned on that.
First and Maple. By the school.
Yeah, so we've got a sidewalk ADA project that we're doing, infill project on the north side of the mid school by the US Bank and the new construction office there. It's pretty exciting little project. It's not real big, but it'll tie First Street in with new wheelchair ramps and crossings to the school, and then around and tie into the sidewalk that's about halfway down. It goes almost to Third Street where we're gonna connect. So yeah, we get bids back. Yeah, on that. So yeah, we hope to get that going throughout the summer. We also had a tractor mowing up on the Vista property today, just getting some of the underbrush cleaned back up so people can hike up there. Let's see. The budget is approved. As I mentioned, we do have the new savings fund. So now we'll have about $150,000 set aside for future growth, and we'll look at doing 50 to 100 moving forward. So that'll help build future parks or other bigger amenities, whatever ends up being decided on. See, Reach F is moving forward. So Grabhorn is actually going to get tore up quite a bit this summer along the waterfront. Scappoose Bay watershed did receive bids. It was over budget. The city is contributing some additional money to help move that project forward. No, a Reach F on Grabhorn. Did I not say Grabhorn? Anyways, yeah, so anticipate seeing contractors out there. That's why it may not be great to start disc golf right away, but I would say by fall we could be thinking about that because then they'll be done with the heavy trucks and equipment.
That's an August project.
What's that?
It's an August project.
Yeah, July to September. They'll be doing the in-water work window, and then Scappoose Bay watershed will be planting that in the fall when just before the rains come. They'll want to make sure that they don't have to irrigate.
The full length of Grabhorn,
It is. It is.
bank restoration. Vegetation.
Yeah, so there's actually capacity adding to it. So they're laying it all back. They're creating some stormwater mitigation means with logs and things in there to help mitigate erosion, add capacity, so on and so forth. And then, yes, we've been working on the veteran side to do riparian establishment. So there's trees that the watershed has been working from seedlings that are actually getting up now waist height and better. So it's looking good. It's
the
taking time.
So did the city have to contribute funds for that project?
Which one?
For the layback of the bank, like we did the first time.
Yes, no, we will have 68,000 invested in it.
It's not bad.
That's a very good deal.
It's really
for the
good.
city to get all of that for only that much money.
Yeah, 'cause
OWEB is funding the vast majority of the project, but when that was put in place through OWEB, they approved pre-COVID dollars, and the project has just taken so long, and the OWEB didn't increase their amount of money, so they're locked into their budget. They're contributing, I think, 170, and we're picking up the rest. So,
Okay.
Great opportunity for us. Cameras, as you know, we put cameras in all the parks. That has reduced our problems substantially. We no longer have the fecal issue. I mean, we do get some stuff still periodically. Doors are getting broken, different little things, but all in all, I think it's been a major success for us. And then one last thing is the city of St. Helens applied for a grant for the research and design of a St. Helens to Scappoose trail system. They were awarded that. We have a match portion into it. We're working on that IGA right now, so that will be kicking off over the next probably year I think they're going to take to do that design. I don't know. It's more of a feasibility study and kind of figuring out the establishment of where that would go and what that would look like.
It's only 30% plans. So yeah.
I think that the logistics of that is going to be a challenge for them. Obviously, between here and there, there's a lot of unique geography to deal with. So
Yeah, I've thought long and hard about how to do that, and I don't have a good snappy recommendation at all.
So that's about it.
Area. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, thank you, everyone. Good meeting and good job, staff. Appreciate all your hard work.
See you at the Scappoose Outdoor Festival, June
Right.
8th, 10 to 6.